Chapter 31 The Ultimate Move, Star Disillusionment. You are listening at novelfull.audio. He. After sending out the arrow signal, the red-haired man stared at Ling Feng with his cold eyes, and said with a ferocious smile, "Boy, you can make it easy for us, Senior Brother Xiao, to find you." Senior Brother Xiao? Xiao Qinggang? Ling Feng frowned slightly. Although he had never heard of this name, the names Xiao Qingfeng and Xiao Qinggang were very similar, so they should be brothers. You killed the little one, and the big one ran out too. Ling Feng's expression became stern, and his aura suddenly turned cold and stern. You killed Senior Brother Xiao's younger brother, and today is the time for you to pay with your life. The red-haired man clasped his hands on his chest and stared at Ling Feng with an arrogant expression. Don't think you can escape, Senior Brother Xiao and the others are nearby. You are dead. Sure enough, as soon as he finished speaking, he heard a sweep of the surrounding woods, and several figures soared into the sky from the woods, and soon they had arrived after several passes. The nest of the cloud-patterned eye tiger is not far from the place where Tianyang red blood fruit grows. After Xiao Qinggang saw the letter, he rushed there as soon as possible, and it only took a moment. Lu Tang, you did a great job this time. Xiao Qinggang walked toward Ling Feng step by step with a ferocious smile on his face, his eyes as cold as a ferocious beast. He. The red-haired man stepped forward and pointed at Ling Feng behind him. This kid is really stupid. He doesn't stay away. He is really asking for his own death. Ji Ro's expression on Xiao Qinggang's face was distorted, and her handsome face looked ferocious and terrifying. He gritted his teeth and stared at Ling Feng, and said viciously, "You little bastard, are you the one who killed my brother? So what? He wants to kill me, why can't I kill him?" Ling Feng looked directly at Xiao Qinggang with an indifferent look on his face. "Fart, who do you think you are? Can your life be compared to that of my brother? You are such a bastard, and my brother wants to kill you. That's your honor. You should just stretch your neck and let him kill you." Xiao Qinggang was like a furious lion, exuding murderous aura, and a domineering aura swept out, wanting to directly intimidate Ling Feng with the pressure of a strong Sky Sect master. Ha. Ling Feng laughed angrily at Xiao Qinggang's remarks. He had never seen such a shameless person before. "Why are you laughing?" Xiao Qinggang glared at Ling Feng and said coldly, "Today I will use your blood to worship Qingfeng's spirit in the sky." Ling Feng's expression condensed. Gu Jing remained calm, and said in a deep voice, "Why, did the leader allow you to kill me? Death is imminent, and you still want to use the leader to suppress me. There are deep forests here, and monsters are rampant. Even if you die, who will know that I did it?" Ling Feng's heart tightened slightly. These people were different from Wang Tong's casual cultivators. They were all inner disciples of the Wenxian sect. Whether it was practicing qigong or martial arts, they were far beyond what Wang Tong and the others could compare with. The five of them teamed up to besiege him, and with Xiao Qinggang watching him closely, the situation was quite unfavorable to him. This is no longer the territory of the Wenxian sect. The jade order Duanmu Qingshan gave to his head has no effect. He can only rely on himself for everything. Xiao Qinggang snorted coldly, stretched out his hand and said viciously, "You bastard, today I will break your limbs and make you suffer torture that is worse than death. Then I will send you to hell and confess in front of Qingfeng." He. Lu, Tang and the others laughed ferociously, with extremely cruel looks flashing in their eyes. Zheng, with a swing of his long sword, Ling Feng held the moon-cutting sword, pointed at the ground, and said coldly, "Are you going to kill me with your words?" He. Lu Tang walked out with a ferocious smile. "Brother, let me bleed him first." "Go." Xiao Qinggang sneered. Lu Tang was his right-hand man and his cultivation was as high as the 9th level of qi condensation. He had no suspense at all against a mere Ling Feng. "Boy, if you fall into the hands of me, Lu Tang, it will be the beginning of your nightmare." Lu Tang took out the long sword from his waist, his eyes were cold, like a lone wolf. How dare a mere rat speak such nonsense? Ling Feng gently brushed the blade of the moonzancing sword, a bright light flashed in his eyes, and said coldly, "Come here." Seeking death. A ferocious look appeared on Lu Tang's face, and his long sword shook and stabbed towards Ling Feng. With this sword, he was going to break Ling Feng's right-hand tendon. How could he resist? Humph. Ling Feng snorted softly, and used his quick light step. In an instant, he was in front of Lu Tang, thrust out his sword, and struck Lu Tang's heart. Lu Tang's eyelids twitched wildly. After all, he was in the 9th level of qi condensation. The Xianxia that protected his body was shaken, and Ling Feng's sword blade was deflected several inches away. Only then was he able to dodge Ling Feng's sword. Little bastard. A trace of anger flashed in Lu Tang's eyes. He had just underestimated the enemy and was almost killed by Ling Feng's sword, which made him shocked and angry. Lu Tang snorted angrily, and the Xianxia surged on the long sword, forming a force of more than half an inch thick, and slashed hard at Ling Feng. Humph, this sword will kill you. Ling Feng's eyes turned cold. The current situation was very unfavorable to him. Even though he had received guidance from Duanwu Qingshan and practiced the broken star sword technique, he could fight at a higher level, but now he had 6 opponents whose strength was still higher than Xiao Qingfeng's. Besieging oneself, no matter how powerful the shattering star sword technique is, it is not enough to make up for such a huge gap. Therefore, using the power of thunder to kill one person first may also have a certain deterrent effect. As long as the other party panics, it can give you some opportunities to take advantage of. Zheng. The Xianxia sword swept out. The ultimate move of shattering star sword technique, the star destruction kill. In an instant, Lu Tang died. Thanks to Mr. Chen Hungli for the reward. Thank you for your support. Please collect and recommend. Chapter 32 Shura Eyes Reopen, Shura Kills the World. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Little bastard, that it took a long time for Xiao Qinggang to react. He gritted his teeth and roared. The murderous intent in his body suddenly broke out and swept across. Boy, you are looking for death. After the words fell, Xiao Qinggang finally couldn't hold himself back, and his figure rushed towards him like a bolt of lightning. Clang. Ling Feng hurriedly raised his sword and exchanged a move with Xiao Qinggang. The tiger's mouth suddenly became numb. Xiao Qinggang's speed and strength far surpassed his own. Even if he could see the flaws in his opponent's swordsmanship with his heavenly eyes, he still couldn't keep up with his speed. Zheng. Xiao Qinggang forced Ling Feng back with one sword strike, followed with another strike, chasing after him fiercely. A flash of bright sword light came towards Ling Feng like a rainbow piercing the sun, piercing Ling Feng with murderous intent, including several inner disciples around him. They were all frightened. This was the first time they saw Xiao Qinggang so furious. Suddenly, the sharp sword light exploded, turning into little bits of cold light, hitting Ling Feng's chest directly. Occasionally, the sword energy was ejected, directly cutting off big trees in the middle. Is this the power of the 10th level of qi condensation? Ling Feng's expression changed slightly. The gap between Lu Tang and Xiao Qinggang was not just a tiny bit. After more than a dozen moves, even if he used the shattering star sword technique, he would be restrained to death. Yes, completely at a disadvantage. Seal the 4 flames and purple formation. Around him, the other 4 inner disciples of the 9th level of qi condensation were guarding the 4 directions, sealing off the battlefield tightly and not giving Ling Feng any room to escape. You bastard, you have to pay for your actions. Xiao Qinggang almost roared, his eyes bloodshot like a mad tiger. Xiao Qingfeng was his brother, and Lu Tang was his confidant. How could he not be angry when they died one after another at Ling Feng's hands? Death. Die. 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 Xiao Qingdang's sword, each sword was faster than the other, and each sword was fiercer than the other. The violent power swept through the boundary of the 4 flames and purple formations. The violent wind surged, and Ling Feng gradually stood up. They were all a little unsteady on their feet. This Xiao Qinggang is slightly inferior to Xiao Qingfeng in terms of cultivation talent, but he is born with divine power. Ling Feng, with his 6th level qi condensation cultivation, was able to fight Xianxia so many times that he could be called a monster. However, this is not a competition in the ring, but a life and death fight. No matter what, I can't die. Ling Feng clenched the sword in his hand. He had too many doubts in his heart. Why did he have the blood of the emperor, and why did his parents leave him when he was a child? All these mysteries have not yet been solved. How could he be willing to die? It was you who forced me. Ling Feng raised his head, his cold eyes filled with bloodshot eyes. At this moment, Ling Feng had no other choice but to open his eyes. Open the 3rd vertical pupil, the eye of Shura. Clang! Ling Feng was struck hard by Xianxia's domineering and fierce sword attack, and he hit the barrier of the 4 flames and purple formation hard. A mouthful of blood spurted out of his mouth. All his true energy was exhausted, and he no longer had the strength to use the star-shattering sword technique. Bitch, I won't be so cheap to you. I'm going to cut off your flesh piece by piece. I'm going to make a small hole in your Tianling cap, pour the honey in little by little, and then put the ant nest in the top of your head, let you try what it feels like to be eaten by thousands of ants. Xianxia laughed crazily, his eyes full of resentment. Such cruel punishment made even the few disciples forming a formation nearby shudder. You don't have that chance anymore, because you are going to die. Ling Feng took out a golden needle from his arms, stared at Xianxia, glanced around, and shouted, "You are all going to die." Ah! Ling Feng roared, and the golden needle at his fingertips pierced the Baihui point on the top of his head. That long-lost killing intent, that feeling full of bloody killings, once again filled his heart and occupied his mind. In an instant, Ling Feng's eyes turned red as if they were stained with blood. Veins popped out on his forehead, and then they tore open ferociously, revealing an evil, strange, and extremely terrifying eyeball. The 3rd vertical pupil is open. Death. Everyone must die. The 3rd vertical pupil opened, and Ling Feng's consciousness became a little blurry. He himself did not realize that a divine pattern was automatically condensed in the 3rd vertical pupil, Shura divine pattern. Buzz. When the Shura divine marks condensed, a bloody curtain seemed to be drawn down around them, and the barrier of the 4 flames and purple arrays cracked inch by inch with a click. What's the situation? What the hell is going on? It seems to be a more powerful barrier. How could it be like this? The 4 disciples who maintained the 4 flames purple formation felt panic in their hearts. This 4 flames purple formation was extremely strong. Even masters in the early stages of the ordinary pulse condensation realm would probably have difficulty escaping if they were trapped by this formation. At this time, Xianxia discovered something incredible. On Ling Feng's forehead, an extremely ferocious vertical pupil actually opened. You, what kind of monster are you? Xianxia felt panic in his heart, and his right hand holding the sword began to tremble a little. Ling Feng's whole body was filled with blood, swaying and rolling, like an evil Shura ghost, entangled around him, just being stared at by Ling Feng. Xianxia felt as if all the strength in his body had been drained away, and it was a tremor from his soul. Xiao, senior brother Xiao, what should we do now? A disciple with thick eyebrows asked in a trembling voice. Damn it, isn't it just a 3-eyed monster? What's there to be afraid of? Xianxia calmed down. We are 5 people working together. Are we afraid of a monster? You go first, I will gather my killing moves and kill him with 1 move. Okay. The 4 disciples roared, plucked up their courage, and rushed towards Ling Feng with their long swords. Die! Ling Feng's eyes were emotionless, and he swept the long sword in his hand without any fancy moves. In an instant, the first disciple who rushed over was cut in half, and blood splattered, directly covering Ling Feng's face. Gulyalu, the rest of the people swallowed hard and looked back at Xianxia, only to find that Xianxia had already started his body skills and fled madly to the back. You bastard, you dare to trick us. The disciples realized that Xianxia was simply using them as cannon fodder to buy himself time to escape. Then, there was another scream, piercing through the clouds and splitting the sky, rushing straight into the sky. An inner disciple was directly pierced through the chest by Ling Feng's claws, and a heart that was still beating was taken out. Then, with a pop, the heart burst open, and blood plasma gushed out. No. Boo. Don't kill me. Go around. Go around. Spare my life. The remaining two people were so scared that their courage broke, but the fear did not last long, because the next moment, their lives were ruthlessly harvested by Ling Feng. Monster, monster. Xiao Qinggang fled like crazy, but unfortunately, no matter how he ran, in this bloody curtain, it seemed like he was always spinning in circles, and he couldn't escape at all. This is the ability of the first divine pattern of the Shura Eye, Shura Killing Realm. As long as you are covered by the Shura Killing Realm, unless you kill Ling Feng who opened the Shura Killing Realm, you will never be able to escape from this bloody curtain. It's your turn. Die. 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 Ling Feng's 3 eyes flashed with blood, and then he turned into a blood shadow, rushing forward and knocking Xiao Qinggang to the ground. He held the Xianyu with both hands and aimed at Xiao Qinggang's heart, piercing. 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 After stabbing more than 100 times, Xiao Qinggang's chest was stabbed like a sieve. Ling Feng then jumped off Xiao Qinggang's body, holding a bloody long sword, and rushed into the dense forest. Please collect and recommend. Chapter 33 The Boy Who Fell into the Water. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. When the Shura eyes are open, Ling Feng seems to have turned into a tireless killing machine. Any living thing in his path will be mercilessly slaughtered by him. The frightened birds leave their nests and the beasts run amok. The terrifying Shura-like aura on Ling Feng's body was no less than that of a top-level monster. Second-level monsters such as the cloud pattern eye-catching tiger were all frightened by it. I don't know how long it took, but Ling Feng's physical strength was exhausted, and with a thud, his body fell into a river, surrounded by mountains and forests, with clear water and secluded pools. In a quiet canyon, there is a waterfall more than 100 feet high. Under the waterfall, there is a secluded pool. The water in the pool is green, like a piece of jasper, flawless and bright. In the deep pool, there stands a smooth rock. The rock is covered with moss, wet and slippery. However, on the blue stone, there stands a graceful girl in green, with bright eyes like water, staring at the deep pool. In the pool, a girl was wiping her arms. The girl in green is already a rare beauty, but compared with the woman in the pool, she still looks eclipsed. The woman in the pool held up a handful of water and slid it gently on her white and tender arms. She giggled and said to the girl on the bluestone, "Chow Chow, are you coming down to take a bath too?" "Miss, that's not possible. This is the Great Wilderness Mountains, and there are many sects nearby. There might be some prodigal son. What if?" The girl named Xiao Xiao said, her pretty face blushing slightly, "Anyway, miss, you can wash your hands." "That's fine, I'll help you guard it." Hee hee. The girl in the pool slapped her hands in the pool, splashed the water on Xiao Xiao, and wetted her dress. The thin silk skirt stuck to her body, outlining her exquisite figure. "Let's see if you can get down, let's see if you can get off." "Okay, Miss Stinky, don't blame me for being rude." Xiao Xiao was made red-faced by Yu Yunlan and jumped into the pool. The two girls had a water fight in the pool. If such a scene fell into the eyes of any man, he would probably bleed from his nose to death. The two girls were having a good time, when they heard a pop sound, and there was an explosion in the direction of the waterfall in the distance. The water surface stirred up waves dozens of meters high, and the water splashed, which was extremely spectacular. "What's going on?" Xiao Xiao slapped the water surface, broke out of the water directly, stood on the bluestone, stared at the direction of the waterfall with beautiful eyes, frowned slightly, and a fierce momentum swept away. Yu Yunlan also flew up immediately, took out a long dress from the space spirit ring, and wrapped it around her delicate body. "Miss, it seems that we are alone." Xiao Xiao looked at it for a moment and found that it was a young boy who looked young. His clothes were stained red with blood. He fell from the waterfall, and the blood stains on his body immediately spread around him, spreading around him. The surrounding pool water was dyed red. So much blood. Yu Yunlan frowned and guessed, is it a dead person? Suddenly, Yu Yunlan's face darkened. She finally found a secluded pool to bathe in, but it turned out to be contaminated by dead bodies. I'll go take a look. He walked quietly on the waves, and in the blink of an eye, he reached the bottom of the waterfall. He grabbed the sinking corpse with his jade hand and pulled it up. Miss, he seems to still be breathing. Xiao shouted. Yu Yunlan curled his lips, and while dressing the group, he responded, rescue him if he still has breath. Okay. Xiao looked at the young man who fell into the waterfall and found that this young man was very handsome. He couldn't help but muttered, you are lucky. If you hadn't met me and the young lady, you would not have been killed. Even if the bad guys are killed, they will be drowned in the water. With that said, Xiao raised one hand of the boy who had fallen into the water, and continued to walk on the waves. After a while, he returned to the shore again. This skill of moving with flying hands shows that this girl named Xiao is definitely not an ordinary person. There was green grass on the shore. Xiao dropped the boy who had fallen into the water on the grass. His eyes couldn't help but fall on the boy's wet face, and he thought to himself, not to mention, this boy is really handsome. After a while, Yu Yunlan also finished dressing. When his toes touched the water, his body immediately shot out like a flying sword. The next moment, he landed in front of Xiao. Miss, what should we do now? Xiao raised her head and asked Yu Yunlan. Yu Yunlan looked at the boy who fell into the water and said slowly, let's rescue him first and then talk. Oh. Xiao reached out and pressed a few times on the belly of the boy who fell into the water. The boy coughed and spit out a few mouthfuls of water, and his breathing finally returned to normal. Yu Yunlan stepped forward and grabbed the young man's left hand, placed it on his pulse gate, felt it for a moment, and then said calmly, it's nothing serious, it's just that I lost strength. What? Xiao was surprised. With so much blood on his body, does it belong to someone else? Then isn't he a murderous demon? But, he is very handsome. Yu Yunlan rolled her eyes at Xiao, raised her jade finger, and lightly poked Xiao's forehead. Can't he be a bad person if he is handsome? But most of the blood smell is the blood of monsters, so this person may not be as a bad person. With that said, Yu Yunlan's space ring took out a porcelain bottle, poured out a pill, and handed it to Xiao's hand. Feed him and take it. As long as he replenishes his physical strength, he will wake up naturally. Jiling Yulyuan, wow, miss, you are so willing. A trace of envy flashed in Xiao's eyes, and she looked back at the unconscious young man and murmured, you are so lucky. Ordinary people may not always be so lucky. I can eat one. Okay, stop mumbling. Yu Yunlan shook his head and smiled, then poured out 2 more 9-spirit jade dew pills. I'll give you these 2, okay? Hee. Xiao then relaxed his brows and showed a sweet smile. He immediately squatted down next to the young man who fell into the water, lifted the young man's head, and stuffed a 9-spirit jade dew pill into his mouth. Gulu. Jiling jade dew pill exuded an intoxicating fragrance of elixir. Although the young man was unconscious, he still swallowed the elixir instinctively. After a while, the mild medicine melted in the young man's body, and the warm current traveled through his limbs and bones, suddenly warming his body that was frozen by the lake water. Ahem. The young man coughed up a few mouthfuls of river water and finally woke up leisurely. Ah, you're awake. Xiao saw the young man open his eyes and immediately shouted to Yu Yunlan who was meditating beside him, Miss, he's awake. As soon as the boy who fell into the water woke up, he found a pleasant fragrance coming to his nostrils. It was Xiao's intoxicating body fragrance. Then, I saw another girl in white clothes and snow, walking over with light steps. If the girl just now was like a lotus in the pond, pure and lovely, then the woman in white clothes was like a snow lotus on a snow-capped mountain. Extraordinarily beautiful, without a trace of human fireworks. Hey. Xiao saw that the boy's eyes were a little straight, and immediately reached out to push the boy, frowning and asking, Who are you? Only then did the young man realize his abruptness, quickly looked away, and replied, "My name is Ling Feng. Please collect, please vote." Chapter 34 I will remember this name. You are listening at novelfull.audio. My name is Ling Feng. Ling Feng's memory gradually became clearer, and he recalled that he was being chased by Xiao Qinggang and others, and had no choice but to open the eye of Shura again. After that, he still remembered that he killed many monsters and finally fell into the water. After waking up, he came here. Thank you two girls for saving your life. Ling Feng sensed his own condition, and found that except for some bruises on his hands and feet, there was basically nothing serious. There seems to be some unknown medicinal power in the body, which is swirling in the Dantian Qi Sea. The medicinal power of this elixir is very powerful, almost comparable to the spiritual power in the Tianyang red blood fruit. By refining these medicinal powers, you may be able to advance to another level. Ling Feng was secretly surprised that these two women, who had never met before, could actually take out such precious things to heal themselves. Of course, this thing may be very precious to me, but to them, it may not be that rare. Oh, it's such a huge favor for saving my life. Just say thank you. Xiao wrinkled her nose at Ling Feng and shook her head. No, it's too insincere. Ling Feng's expression froze. He turned over and sat up from the ground. He looked at Xiao and then at Yu Yunlan. He was momentarily stumped by the girl in front of him. It is true that one should not be hasty in rescuing a life, but if one has nothing to offer, is it possible for one to still offer one's life? Okay, Xiao, stop making trouble. Yu Yunlan rolled her eyes, a trace of helplessness flashed in her eyes. Although she and Xiao were in a master-servant relationship, they were sisters. She had always been unable to do anything with this girl. Xiao stuck out her tongue and took a few steps away obediently. Master Ling, right? Yu Yunlan stared at Ling Feng's eyes and asked lightly, how did you fall from the waterfall? That although Ling Feng did not want to deceive his savior, he would not tell anyone about the eye of the emperor casually. He could only make up a lie and said, when I was training in the great wilderness mountains, I accidentally encountered a group of monsters, and then he fought until he was exhausted, jumped into the river, and then floated down the river here. Well, that's reasonable. Yu Yunlan nodded slightly. Although she still had some doubts in her heart, she didn't get to the bottom of it. Anyway, I have to thank you two girls this time. Don't you know the girl's name? My surname is Yu, and my name is Yunlan. Yu Yunlan opened her red lips lightly, glanced at Ling Feng lightly, and then withdrew his gaze. Mr. Ling, since you are no longer in trouble, the little girl has important things to do, so let's just say goodbye. Yu Yunlan. Yanlan Yinxiu has its own elegance. Ling Feng took a deep look at Yu Yunlan and said slowly, I will remember this name. You, it's useless to remember, Our Lady is. Xiao couldn't help but wanted to tell Yu Yunlan's identity, but Yu Yunlan stopped her. Xiao had to stick out her tongue and said, I advise you, forget about the young lady as soon as possible. Ling Feng was secretly amused. Yu Yunlan was indeed beautiful and incomparable, but he had not yet fallen in love at first sight. Xiao, don't talk too much. Yu Yunlan smiled apologetically at Ling Feng, and then waved to Xiao. The master and servant actually flew into the wind and disappeared from Ling Feng's sight after a while. Wind control technique. A look of surprise flashed in Ling Feng's eyes. Even a warrior in the pulse condensation realm needs to use his true energy to transform into feathers in order to fly briefly in the air. The two girls, Yu Yunlan, were able to control the air without opening their wings of true energy. Their strength was probably at the level of their master, Duanmu Qingshan. How old are they? He must not be more than 20 years old. Gulu. Ling Feng swallowed. No wonder Xiao made him forget about Yu Yunlan. Indeed, to them, they are not characters in the same world at all. With my emperor's eyes, given time, even if I can surpass Miss Yu, what's the difficulty? Soon, Ling Feng's heart calmed down, replaced by a kind of determination. For him, the most important thing is to grow up quickly. take back Tai Xian acupuncture from the Yen family in the East capital, and find out the mystery of his life experience. I don't know what miss you gave me. Anyway, let's refine the medicinal power first, and then it's time to return to Wenxian sect. Although he killed Xiaoqing and others, no one knew about it, and no one would doubt him, all of them died in vain. One day later, Ling Feng successfully refined the medicinal power of 9 Ling Jade Dew pills, and his cultivation level indeed broke through again, and he was directly promoted to the peak of the 7th level of qi condensation. The effect of this elixir is many times more powerful than the qi-enhancing elixir given to him by the head of Xian sect. In addition to progress in cultivation, even the meridians and body have become stronger. It is conceivable that those disciples with superior backgrounds can be promoted to the highest level with almost closed eyes if they practice with this elixir every day. Pulse condensation realm, however, Ling Feng also has the eyes of the emperor, and his future achievements may not be as good as those geniuses who have emerged from the big forces. It's time to go back. The elixirs refined for master should have been used up. Ling Feng's cultivation has greatly improved at this moment, and his swordsmanship and boxing skills have also reached perfection. It's time to return to Wenxian sect. After groping for a long time, Ling Feng finally found his location on the map. He quickly found the route and prepared to return to the sect. At this moment, the sun is shining in the dense forest. Through the dense canopy of trees, mottled beams of light shine down, illuminating a path forward. At the same time, at the other end of the deep forest, another training team appeared. There were 7 people, 5 men and 2 women, all wearing standard clothes and carrying 3-foot green-edged swords on their backs. They all looked young, and the eldest one looked to be in his early 20s. Walking in the front was a handsome man, wearing a crown with a white jade hairpin. He was tall and handsome, with a dignified appearance. His eyes were shining and sharp as they opened and closed. This person is also a master of airbending at the 10th level of qi condensation. Thanks to Senior Brotherly this time, otherwise we might all have died under the clutches of the Black Wind demonic ox. A female swordsman on the left said softly. Her beautiful eyes were always looking at the leading man, full of admiration and love. The appearance of this female swordsman can only be described as upper middle class, but she has a plump figure, with bulging front and back. Wearing a standard disciple's uniform, she also outlines extremely exaggerated curves. There is a charming style between the eyebrows and eyes. In comparison, the other female disciple seemed much ordinary. Senior Brotherly obviously enjoyed the admiration. He looked at the woman's sculpted figure from the corner of his eye, swallowed secretly, and said with a smile, "What are you talking about, Junior Sisterly?" "As a senior brother, of course there is. It's my duty to protect everyone. Senior Brotherly is truly worthy of being a close disciple of Master Jian. He is invincible with his fiery sun sword technique." Another disciple also flattered him and laughed loudly. "It's ridiculous that Wenxian sect and Qingkuan sect dare to compete with us. The sword sect is also known as the 3 major sects in the Xinzhong Mountains, but I have never seen what Senior Brotherly is capable of. Yes, Senior Brotherly can sweep all the inner disciples of both of their factions with 1 sword and 1 sword. Huh, blah blah blah." Senior Brotherly had a look of pride on his face, "But sooner or later, I will sweep across the Wenxian and Qingkuan sects and let them know that our Luyun sword sect is the only one in the Xinzhong Mountains. They 2 groups are only qualified to carry our shoes behind us. On that day, Junior Brother, I will personally hold the sword for Senior Brother. I'm cheering for my Senior Brother. I'll warm Senior Brother's bed." A group of people were so flattering that Li Changqing was so confused that he almost didn't know where he was. At this time, a relatively silent Luyun sword sect disciple next to him suddenly said, "Senior Brotherly, there is someone in front of you." "Huh?" Li Changqing looked up and saw a ragged young man appearing at the other end of the dense forest. "It seems that I am asking about the clothes of the disciples of the immortal sect." Li Changqing strode towards the other party with a sneer on his lips. "Would you like to ask a disciple of the immortal sect if you are alone? It's interesting, hee hee." Several other people also followed, with a hint of amusement and joking in their eyes. Now it was a lot of fun. "Please collect, please vote. Chapter 35 Setting Sun Sword Technique. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ling Feng finally found the route back to the sect and was on his way with all his strength when he suddenly saw a group of people flying towards him in front of the dense forest at a very fast speed. The 7 people, 5 men and 2 women, all had playful expressions on their faces that were half smiling but not smiling. They looked at themselves like a hunter seeing his prey. Ling Feng frowned slightly. He didn't want to cause trouble, but if trouble came, he wouldn't back down. In particular, his cultivation has reached the peak of the 7th stage of qi condensation. Once he reaches the 7th stage of qi condensation, he will be a warrior in the late stage of qi condensation. His true energy will be more condensed and thicker, and he can also use the method of attaching true energy to the blade, making the sword energy more powerful. The power is even higher. He is confident that even if he encounters a strong Kibong master like Xiao Qinggang who is at the 10th level of qi condensation again, he can kill him without opening his Shura Eyes. Ling Feng raised his eyes, and his eyes first fell on the young swordsman at the head. This man's aura was condensed and undissipated, and his energy was as deep as the pavilion. He was indeed a troublesome opponent. As for the warriors behind the young swordsman, he didn't pay much attention to them. For him, except for the 10th level qi condensation Sky Sect, all other qi condensation realm warriors can be killed with one sword. In the blink of an eye several times, Li Changqing stopped 100 steps away from Ling Feng, stood with his hands behind his hands, and said proudly, "Are you a disciple of the immortal sect?" Ling Feng frowned slightly. "So what?" "Humph." Li Changqing had a look of pride between his brows, as if he were a superior person, and said in a commanding tone, "If so, just kneel down obediently and hand over all your belongings. I'm in a good mood. Maybe I can let you go. On your part?" Ling Feng smiled. "I advise you not to provoke me." "Ha ha ha ha." A swordsman next to Li Changqing took a step forward and sneered, "Is your kid's head broken? Do you dare to be arrogant in front of our senior brother Li alone? Get lost." Ling Feng was not interested in getting into too much entanglement with them. He just spat out one word coldly, and his aura became more fierce. "Are the people of the immortal sect so ignorant of life and death?" Li Changqing cracked his joints, making a sound like fried beans, and stared at Ling Feng coldly, like a hawk. "Do you know that I am the genius of Luyun Sword Sect's inner sect? Even the head of your Wenxian sect must retreat 3 points in front of our Luyun Sword Sect's head. You, a little ordinary disciple, are you not? Have you eaten the heart of a bear or the courage of a leopard? Luyun Sword Sect." A cold light flashed in Ling Feng's eyes, and a hint of murderous intent spread from the bottom of his heart. "On that day, my grandfather also took him to Luyun Sword Sect, but unfortunately he was mercilessly expelled and even received a heavy beating. Today, with this tone, it's time to get some interest back. Asking the head of the immortal sect has nothing to do with me. If you insist on causing trouble for me, you will bear the consequences." Haha, this question about the disciples of the immortal sect is quite interesting. The bones are really hard. The plump female disciple had a charming smile on her lips and said coquettishly to Li Changqing, "Senior brother Li, what are we going to do today? Let's loosen his bones, okay?" Li Changqing was tickled by Li Ruyun's charming voice, and immediately laughed and said, "Of course, if you ask the immortal sect's worthless bones, of course you have to teach him a lesson." Ling Feng felt slightly depressed. In the Wenxian sect, he had been ostracized everywhere, but when he came out to practice, he got involved in the conflict between the Luyun Sword Sect and the Wenxian sect. "Junior brother Chang, go and teach him a lesson. Be careful and don't lose our Luyun Sword Sect's magnanimity." Li Changqing sneered and casually nodded at a swordsman with the 9th level of qi condensation next to him. In his opinion, qi condensation sect the 9th level player is absolutely sure of dealing with the 7th level qi condensation player, and there is no need to take action himself. "Don't worry, senior brotherly, I will definitely teach him how to respect the senior brother of Luyun Sword Sect." Chang Shuyang laughed strangely, with a ferocious look on his face, staring at Ling Feng as if he was looking at the fish on the chopping board. "Boy, I advise you to be more cooperative and obediently hand over all your valuables." I may be merciful and just break one of your legs. Chang Shuyang thought he had defeated Ling Feng, and his attitude was arrogant. Said arrogantly, Ling Feng sighed secretly in his heart, slowly drew out the wooden sword behind him, and said calmly, beat me first and then talk. Since he was exhausted and fell into the water after opening the eye of Shura, his moonzancing sword was probably sleeping at the bottom of the river. Therefore, Ling Feng cut a branch at random and made it into a wooden sword to temporarily replace the weapon. Wooden sword. The disciples of Luyun's sword sect burst into laughter immediately. Is the immortal sect already so poor? None of my disciples can even afford a fine steel sword. It's so funny. This guy couldn't have gone down the mountain to drink wine and pawned his sword because he had no money. Ha ha ha. Chang Shuyang laughed so hard that Ling Feng was already a complete pustule in his eyes. You are very courageous and stupidly naive. Do you really think that I dare not kill you? Chang Shuyang moved his arms, the sword light flashed, and the sword shadow flickered, cutting through the sky like a horse. It has to be said that the Luyun sword sect is worthy of being called the sword sect. The swordsmanship of its disciples is obviously higher than that of the Wenxian sect, however, their weakness is also obvious, that is, the true energy they have cultivated is not as condensed and honest as the disciples of the Wenxian sect. Use your sword. Otherwise, you won't have a chance to take action. Ling Feng pointed his wooden sword at the ground with a calm look on his face. What a shameless statement. Chang Shuyang got angry and unfolded his body skills, whoosh. 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 Several swords were thrust out, and the swords pierced Ling Feng's vital parts. The speed seemed not fast, but it was erratic, and the sword light flickered. In a moment, he was already in front of Ling Feng. Good. As expected of senior brother Chang, this hand with the setting sun sword technique is simply perfect. The female disciple Li Ruyun, who was proud of her figure, also clapped her hands and giggled. Senior brother Chang is so awesome, that when Chang Shuyang heard Li Ruyun cheering for him, he immediately felt as if he had been given blood, and his sword skills became even more powerful. However, from the beginning to the end, Ling Feng's demeanor was extremely calm and composed. He spread out his body skills to dodge several swords from the opponent. Tiandao's eyes condensed and he immediately understood in his heart, although the setting sun sword technique is much inferior to my own star-shattering sword technique, it still has its merits. In particular, after swallowing the Tianyang red blood fruit, his true energy has a hint of flame attribute. Practicing this kind of fire-based swordsmanship will naturally be even more powerful. Before the sword was drawn, the light-seeking footwork under Ling Feng's feet was chaotic and crisscrossed. No matter how Chang Shuyang drew the sword, he could not touch a single hem of Ling Feng's clothes. How so? Why is that kid's body skills so good? The disciples of Luyun's sword sect all looked at each other in disbelief, unable to believe that a warrior at the 7th level of Qi condensation could actually be so comfortable with the sword of a master at the 9th level of Qi condensation. Not long after, Chang Shuyang's sword technique was repeated. Ling Feng finally sneered and said indifferently, "What, is your setting sun sword technique just this powerful?" Chang Shuyang clenched his fists, his handsome face turned red. "You brat, you're looking for death. You can't kill me." Ling Feng raised a finger, waved it in front of Chang Shuyang, and then said coldly, "You should see what the real setting sun sword technique is. Please collect, please vote." Chapter 36, Stealing Skills from a Teacher. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Let me show you what the real setting sun sword technique is. Ling Feng relied on the eye of heaven to completely copy the sword moves and sword techniques when Chang Shuyang performed the setting sun sword technique, and he understood all the secrets. You fart. The muscles on Chang Shuyang's face were twisted. The setting sun sword technique was a unique sword technique only available to Luyun sword sect. How could Ling Feng have the opportunity to learn this sword technique? Go to hell. Dealing with a Wenxian sect's pustule, he couldn't attack it for a long time. This made Chang Shuyang more embarrassed than being slapped. The long sword in his hand swept across, one sword after another, fast and erratic, and the trajectory was hard to find. Ling Feng stood on the spot, no longer using his physical skills to dodge, and raised the wooden sword in his hand slightly. Huh. Li Changqing frowned and said a little strangely, this hand gesture seems. It seems to be the setting sun sword technique. Li Ruyan blinked her long eyelashes and exclaimed. No. Junior brother Chang, get out of the way. Li Changqing's eyelids twitched suddenly, because the next moment, Ling Feng's move suddenly changed, and it turned out to be the ultimate move of the setting sun sword technique, bloody setting sun. Unfortunately, by the time Li Changqing shouted, it was already too late. Chang Shuyang attacked Ling Feng crazily, the sword in his hand dancing wildly, like a dragon coming out of the sea, blowing up waves of strong wind. However, he saw a pair of cold eyes staring at him, as if they were the gaze of death. Then, fierce murderous intent seemed to rise into the sky, and an incredible red light flashed out. Laugh, thought the sword light was like a rainbow, piercing directly through his chest. Chang Shuyang raised his head and spit out a mouthful of blood, which spread into the sky. This is the bloody setting sun, thought this was the last thought in Chang Shuyang's mind. Then, his body fell heavily to the ground, his eyes widened and he refused to close his eyes. He never imagined that he would die under his most proud sword move. Senior brother Chang, thought the disciples of Luyun sword sect all stared at the scene in front of them in disbelief. Chang Shuyang was actually killed by his opponent using the setting sun sword technique in one move. You know, even among Luyun sword sect, there are only a handful of inner disciples who are better than Chang Shuyang in the setting sun sword technique. Impossible! Li Ruyan exclaimed, looking at Chang Shuyang's body on the ground, with blood flowing and staining the ground red, her eyes filled with disbelief. Am I dreaming? How can that guy know the setting sun sword technique? How can he know the setting sun sword technique? Li Changqing clenched his fists, veins popped out on his forehead, he stared at Ling Feng coldly, and yelled, asshole, as a disciple of the Wenxian sect, you actually dare to steal the swordsmanship from our Luyun sword sect. I will definitely not spare you today. I will go to the head and accuse you, a disciple of the Wenxian sect, for secretly learning the swordsmanship of our Luyun sword sect. Stealing skills from a master is definitely a taboo in the sect world. It is an absolutely unforgivable heinous crime. Studying on the sly. Ling Feng smiled coldly. He obviously learned it in full view of the public. Does it count as learning on the sly? However, there was no need for him to explain to Li Changqing and the others, because everyone present today was going to die. I can't blame him for being cruel and ruthless. If these people escape and tell the senior officials of the sect about their stealing their masters to learn skills, they will face endless troubles. One Wenxian sect is enough for me to drink a pot, but if there is another Luyun sword sect, will I still be able to survive? You bastard, I'm going to destroy your cultivation today, and then hand you over to the master for punishment. You, a scum who steals his skills from his master, are going to kill you like this. It's really too easy for you. That while speaking, Li Changqing had already grasped the hilt of the sword at his waist, with murderous intent surging in his eyes. Zheng, that the long sword is unsheathed. Li Changqing raised his sword energy flowing horizontally and vertically, and a green sword energy burst out, hitting Ling Feng's face directly. Li Changqing's swordsmanship is obviously much higher than that of Chang Shuyang, and his true energy is stronger, and his strength is definitely not inferior to Xiao Qinggong's. However, Ling Feng's strength has once again broken through. Even if he faces a strong Kibong master, what is there to fear? At this time, Li Ruyun also drew his sword and rushed out. The other disciples of Luyun sword sect rushed out with their swords in hand and surrounded Ling Feng, preventing him from having any chance to escape. Swish, swish, swish. Li Ruyun twisted her delicate body and jumped up using her body skills. The shadow of the sword in her hand flashed, and sword lights bloomed like flowers. Ling Feng dodged sideways, using his swift light step to the extreme, and at an almost incredible angle, he avoided the flanking attacks from Li Changqing and Li Ruyun. However, the wooden sword in his hand, even though he used the method of attaching Xianxia to the blade, was still cut into two pieces by Li Changqing's mysterious sword. With a quick flash of his body, Ling Feng rushed to Chang Shuyang's body. He lowered his body and grabbed Chang Shuyang's long sword. Replacing the wooden sword with a stainless steel sword would at least not require a large amount of infuriating energy to maintain the edge. Humph. Li Changqing's sword failed, and he staggered his feet. He turned around and chased after Ling Feng. He slashed out with his light blue sword energy, leaving a deep sword mark on the ground and slashed towards Ling Feng. What a domineering sword spirit, Ling Feng narrowed his eyes. The chi of a 10th level chi condensation master was extremely thick, so even if the sword chi was released, it would still be able to condense and not dissipate. Possessing such terrifying power, Ling Feng opened his heavenly eyes while looking for flaws in Li Changqing's swordsmanship. The long sword in his hand also shone with dark red light under the infusion of his true energy. Drink! The sound of shouts rang in his ears, and Li Ruyun's sword light came suddenly again. The two attacks were coordinated perfectly, leaving Ling Feng without any time to breathe. However, Li Ruyun really thought highly of herself, and her pretentiousness only served as a little interference. Ling Feng was annoyed by her, with murderous intent surging in his eyes. He saw through Li Ruyun's defensive weakness at a glance, and stabbed out with his sword. The sword light was like lightning, cutting through the void, avoiding Li Ruyun's sword edge, and piercing his throat. Ling Feng's sword, hurry. Ruthless. Allow. That indomitable momentum made Li Ruyun's scalp explode and the hair on his body stood on end. The cold murderous intention sealed the whole body. Li Ruyun's complexion changed drastically, and she exclaimed, "No, don't." The sound stopped suddenly, and in a flash of lightning, Ling Feng's sword pierced her throat, and blood spurted out. Clang! Li Ruyun's long sword fell to the ground, and she covered her snow-white neck with both hands. The blood was like a fountain, dyeing her white palms red. She stared at Ling Feng's back with her eyes, rolled her eyelids, and immediately turned around. Turning around, he fell to the ground. Li Ruyun, die. Ling Feng's sword doesn't know what it means to pity the fragrance and cherish the jade. Junior sister Li. Li Changqing's pupils swelled and were covered with bloodshot eyes. Murderous aura surged all over his body, and he almost fell into a state of madness. Give it to me and die. Li Changqing held the sword tightly, and under the strong wind, his clothes were hunting, and he rushed towards Ling Feng with endless murderous intent. New book issue, please vote for recommendation. Chapter 37 Counterattack, 10 Levels of Chi Condensation. You are listening at MaleProtagonist. Kill! With a swish of his long sword, Li Changqing was like a fierce tiger, charging at him fiercely, leaving no room for any chance, vowing to kill Ling Feng with his sword. Ling Feng's eyes flashed with a hint of chill. Those who commit evil will deserve to die. Draw it out with one sword. The sword energy burst out, and the broken star sword energy turned into dots of stars and struck directly at Li Changqing's heart. Li Changqing's murderous heart was fierce, and he slashed down crazily with a sword. The light blue sword was like strangulation in the breeze. The sword light flickered and split into 8 parts, changing erratically. This is a wind-based swordsmanship. Ling Feng did not block it forcefully, he spread out his body skills to avoid Li Changqing's sword, and another sword struck behind him. The remaining Luyun Sword Sect disciples also gave up their siege and joined forces with Li Changqing to attack. For a moment, sword energy was surging in all directions, killing people every step of the way. Ling Feng touched the ground with one foot and performed a beautiful backflip in the air. His body was like a willow catkin following the wind, and the sword energy passed by him in a dangerous manner. There were even thin traces of blood on his cheeks and arms, which were cuts from the sword energy. However, the moment he jumped to the top, the long sword in his hand swept across, and sword energy burst out. Except for Li Changqing, who was at the 10th level of chi condensation, all the other Luyun Sword Sect disciples stood motionless. As if frozen, he maintained the posture of the last sword move, his pupils filled with confusion and fear. Laugh! The next moment, from an undetectable red mark between their necks, blood arrows spurted out, and then they all fell to the ground. Another move, and all 4 of the opponent's disciples were killed by Ling Feng's sword. You bastard! I'll kill you! Seeing his junior brothers and sisters die in Ling Feng's hands one by one, Li Changqing's eyes were completely split, and his true energy exploded to the extreme. The long sword in his hand, under the infusion of his true energy, erupted with an extremely dazzling green light. Like ripples. Die! 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 Li Changqing's long sword danced wildly, slashing out more than a dozen cyan sword lights in succession, all of them killing Ling Feng. Each sword contained fierce murderous intent and was astonishingly powerful. Even an ordinary warrior with the 9th level of Qi condensation could easily kill him. However, Ling Feng was no ordinary warrior. Under Tiandao's eyes, his sword moves were completely understood by Ling Feng. His flaws and weaknesses were all exposed to Ling Feng's eyes. Without any dodge, Ling Feng's sword was slightly raised. This is the starting position of the setting sun sword technique. Those who kill the Luyun sword sect must use the swordsmanship of the Luyun sword sect. This can be regarded as their deserved death. Buzz. The long sword trembled slightly. Ling Feng slashed out with the sword, and stabbed out more than a dozen sword flowers, which were intertwined with Li Changqing's sword energy. The shadow of the sword collided with the light of the sword, the two swords clashed, and the sound of gold and iron clashing was extremely harsh. Kill 6 disciples of my Luyun sword sect in a row. You beast, your crime cannot be punished. I will cut you into thousands of pieces. Li Changqing's face was ferocious and twisted, and the sword came out like crazy. The green sword energy was densely packed, as if there were more than a dozen. The arms waved the swords at the same time, killing each other with swords. This Li Changqing is truly a genius within the Luyun sword sect. Among the younger generation, in terms of swordsmanship alone, he is the strongest person Ling Feng has ever seen. From the moment you took action against me, your fate was doomed. Ling Feng's eyes were cold and cruel, and he fought back with his sword without falling behind. Go to hell. The wind will kill you. Li Changqing's handsome face was completely twisted together, looking ferocious and terrifying. His eyes were wide open, like an evil ghost that chose people to devour. He clenched the sword with both hands and slashed forward fiercely. A violent tornado shredded the air in front of him, and everything around him seemed to be twisted and broken in the violent wind. This was Li Changqing's most powerful killing move. The ground cracked open, as if it had been plowed. The strong wind stirred up sand and dust all over the sky, and the whole space was dark. Ling Feng's eyelids twitched. The power of this move has exceeded his own star disillusionment kill. Ling Feng asked himself, with his current strength, even if he activates the shattering star sword technique to the extreme, it is impossible to explode like this. Power, however, no matter how powerful the attack is, it is useless if it cannot hit anyone. Ling Feng launched the swift light step. Strictly speaking, it should be a new movement that combines the cloud-chasing step and the swift light step. When the movement was pushed to the extreme, Ling Feng seemed to turn into a line of light and shadow. No matter how violent the wind was, he could not catch up. Ling Feng's speed, as he retreated, the divine patterns of heaven in his right eye condensed, observing the flaw in Li Changqing's violent wind attack. I saw it, it's right there. Suddenly, Ling Feng's eyes lit up, he advanced instead of retreating, and ran directly into the eye of the tornado. The clothes on his upper body were instantly twisted into pieces, the wind blade cut, and even cut deep wounds on Ling Feng's body. From the mouth, blood flowed down. However, Ling Feng was in the eye of the wind, as steady as Mount Tai, standing motionless, raising his long sword high. Red light flashed, and the sword blade turned red under Ling Feng's blazing true energy. The bloody setting sun, with a loud shout, murderous intentions are revealed. A burst of red sword energy directly cut the tornado in half, and the violent wind swept to both sides, blowing rows of big trees, and Ling Feng's sword energy, as if it penetrated directly through the void, passed directly through the body and pierced Li Changqing's chest. Li Changqing's body froze in midair, his eyes were also full of astonishment, staring at Ling Feng in disbelief. Laugh! Blood splashed out from his chest, and his body was cut into 2 parts like a wooden stake, cut from the sword marks on his chest. Bang! Bang! 2 sounds fell to the ground at the same time. How can this be? Li Changqing's eyes widened, and he couldn't believe it until the moment he died. He would actually die in the hands of a mere disciple of the 7th level of qi condensation in the middle of Wenxian sect. Haha. Ling Feng fell from mid-air, breathing heavily, and blood was still flowing out from the wounds on his body. Ling Feng did take a risk with the last sword strike, but if he didn't take the risk, he might have missed the opportunity to kill Li Changqing. Indeed, it would be difficult for Li Changqing to kill him, but if Li Changqing wanted to escape, he would never be able to stop him. If Li Changqing is allowed to leave, he will be left with endless troubles. After resting for a while, Ling Feng regained some of his strength, and then took out the golden needle he carried with him to stop the bleeding and heal his injuries. These were just skin injuries and would heal quickly in a short time. Then, he found his space bag that had been blown away by the strong wind on a branch not far away, took out a piece of animal skin, cut it randomly a few times, made an animal skin vest, and wrapped it around his upper body. Although it's not very pretty, it's still better than running around naked. Then, it's time to harvest. These disciples of Luyun Sword Sect are not weak in strength, and they must have some good things in them. Thanks to Li Xianxia, for the new reward support, keep asking for votes. Chapter 38 Free Sword Step. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Soon, Ling Feng dragged the corpses together, and then searched carefully, and sure enough, he found some good things. First of all, the sword in Li Changqing's hand was a low-grade mysterious weapon, and its quality was even better than his previous Moonzancing sword. It has been some time since he joined the Wenxian sect, and Ling Feng is no longer the novice who knew nothing about the sect world. The weapons of warriors can be divided into mortal weapons, mysterious weapons, treasure weapons, spiritual weapons, and fairy weapons. Of course, there are artifacts and legends, but they are just legends. Whether they exist or not is not something ordinary people can know. Generally speaking, it is good for warriors in the qi condensation realm to possess top-grade mortal weapons. Possessing low-grade mysterious weapons can be said to be very luxurious. Ling Feng had a wealthy master like Duanwu Qingshan, so he got a low-grade mysterious weapon, but he lost it, but luckily he picked it up right away and filled the gap in the weapon. In addition to this low-grade mysterious weapon, there are also a large number of monster materials, beast fangs, beast bones, beast skins, beast tendons, and of course, demon elixirs, ranging from 2nd level low-grade to 2nd level high-grade demon elixirs. There are also 5 demon elixirs for 2nd level peak demon beasts such as the cloud-patterned eye-catching tiger. Stars. This is definitely a great asset. In addition, there are several bottles of qi-increasing pills, qi-gathering powder, qi-restoring pills and other pills. Of course, most of them were found from Li Changqing's body. Ling Feng packed up the harvest with satisfaction, and suddenly discovered that there was a bronze ring on Li Changqing's left hand. Could it be a space ring? Ling Feng's eyelids twitched. He took off the ring and injected a ray of true energy. Sure enough, a 7-foot square space opened inside. Although it was not big, it was enough to place a lot of sundries, and the most important point is that a space ring is much easier to carry than a space bag. This is quite an achievement. Ling Feng was secretly surprised, opened the space inside, took out the things and took a look. There are only 2 things in the huge space, a small bag sewn from silk, bulging, filled with some colorful crystal stones, about a dozen of them. Unfortunately, Ling Feng doesn't know what these crystals are, but since Li Changqing put them into the space ring, they must not be ordinary items. When he returns to the sect, he can ask Duanwu Qingshan. The other item is an ancient book with 4 small gold-lacquered characters written on the cover, Xiaoyao Sword Step. After browsing for a while, Ling Feng's eyes flashed with excitement. This Xiaoyao Sword Step is actually a martial art that integrates the body-fitting method and the sword method. Strictly speaking, this should be regarded as a secret method. Master said that the cultivation of secret techniques is extremely difficult and very precious. I never expected that I would find a copy in the possession of this Luyun Sword Sect disciple. Ling Feng continued to flip through a few pages, secretly feeling lucky. Fortunately, Li Changqing didn't learn Xiaoyao Sword Step, otherwise the dead body lying on the ground today would definitely be him. As Ling Feng read through it, he muttered to himself, it's a pity that it's just a fragment. It only has the 3 sword steps in front of it, but it's much more powerful than my current Sun Guang step. I don't know what level it is. Gongfa. Although I am very curious about happy sword steps, this is obviously not a good place for practice. Throw the bag full of unknown crystals and the secret book of Xiaoyao's sword step back to the space spirit ring, and also throw away all the monster materials, elixirs and other sundries, such as crystal coins, silver coins, swords, etc. All the things were thrown into the space spirit ring. It can definitely be said that I returned home with a full load. After thinking for a moment, Ling Feng did not put on the space spirit ring directly, but strung it into a pendant and put it away close to his body. The common man is not guilty, but he is guilty of carrying the jade. Before you have enough strength, it is better not to expose such good things for the time being. After collecting the trophies, Ling Feng grabbed a fine steel sword and strode away in the direction of Sky Sect. Just when Ling Feng returned to Sky Sect with all his strength, Sky Sect welcomed two guests. Outside the gate of Sky Sect, two figures cut through the sky and slowly landed. Upon closer inspection, it turned out to be two young and beautiful women. One was wearing an emerald green dress, with a slim figure and beautiful features. The other woman was dressed in white and graceful, standing in the wind, as if she were a fairy. A pair of eyes, clear and lively, with an extraordinary temperament. These two women turned out to be the master and servant pair that Ling Feng met under the waterfall that day, Yu Yunlan and Xiao. After a while, Xiao sat down on a rock on the mountain road, hammered her calf, and gasped, "Miss, what is your identity? You are just asking the immortal sect, but you actually walked up there yourself. Why don't we just fly up? This is etiquette. For outsiders to break into the Forbidden Air formation casually, it is equivalent to a declaration of war for the sect." Yu Yunlan stretched out a green-white jade finger and lightly poked Xiao's forehead. "You girl, I'm getting really lazy." Okay, etiquette is the way to go. I have to take a rest first." Xiao stuck out her tongue and suddenly said, "Miss, we have found a lot of miraculous doctors these days, and they are all in vain. This Duanmu miracle doctor has disappeared for more than 10 years, so I think we should not waste our efforts. It doesn't hurt to give it a try." Yu Yunlan sighed softly. "My father has been suffering from a strange disease for 3 years. How can a daughter not worry about him?" "Miss, you are the only one to worry about. Those young masters in the sect, I'm afraid." Xiao spoke quickly, realized that she had said the wrong thing, and quickly spat. Bah, Ms., I just said it randomly, hee. You girl, it's just a matter of saying these words in front of me. If it reaches the ears of the eldest and third brothers, you may even have 10 lives to die." Yu Yunlan rolled his eyes at Xiao and frowned slightly. "A trace of sadness arose in my heart. When the human heart is corrupted by power, any affection between flesh and blood will also deteriorate. That's exactly what happened to my brothers. I'm done resting, miss, let's continue on the road. I hope that Duanmu miracle doctor has real skills." Xiao hugged Yu Yunlan's arm with both hands and said with a smile, "Young lady has worked so hard for the sect master's strange disease, it will definitely get better. You girl, I let you say both good and bad things." Yu Yunlan shook his head and smiled. Being among a powerful force may not always mean everything goes as planned. There were many flatterers around her, but perhaps the only one who could have a heart-to-heart was Xiao. Hee, miss, let's set off now. I have a hunch that we will be in for a surprise this time." As he said that, Xiao took Yu Yunlan's arm, changed his previous lazy posture, and walked up the bluestone steps as fast as flying. Keep rolling and asking for votes. Chapter 39 The Eldest Lady of the Sky Sect. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Jiuxian Mountain, Luxian Main Peak, in the Great Hall. At this moment, in the hall, except for the elders and deacons, almost all the true disciples and inner disciples of the main peak have gathered. There are many people at the peak of Qi condensation and veins condensation, and there are even talented disciples who have reached the late stage of veins condensation. The head of the sect, Lin Songlong, sat on the throne in the hall, with a hint of surprise and some uneasiness on his face. Not long ago, the disciples guarding the mountain sent back a message that Yu Yunlan, the eldest lady of the Xianxia sect, the protector of the country of the Tianbai Empire, suddenly visited the Wenxian sect. Wenxian sect is only a well-known sect in the 7 northern counties of the Tianbai Empire, while the Xianxia sect is the protector of the country of the empire. The difference in status is like the difference between heaven and earth. Lin Feng really couldn't think of any reason for the eldest lady of the Xianxia sect to visit Wenxian sect. This time Miss Yu is here to visit our Xianzong, you must be careful to arrange everything, and you must not neglect Miss Yu in the slightest. Lin Feng glanced at the disciples in the hall, and said with a serious face, you should know what the status of the Xianxia sect is. The leader of the Xianxia sect can just wave his hand, and the millions of soldiers of the empire can come in the blink of an eye. Our Xianzong will be wiped out in an instant. That the elders and disciples in the hall all looked solemn. They knew very well that the words of the leader were not false at all. The Guardian Divine sect can mobilize an Imperial Divine Guard battalion composed entirely of warriors above the high level of the condensation realm. The masters in the Divine Guard battalion can wave their hands, and even the leader of the Xianzong will have no room for resistance. This time Miss Yu came to our Xianzong, maybe it is an opportunity for our Xianzong to upgrade a grade. If any of you can climb up to Miss Yu's high branch, that's your ability. Yu Yunlan, the eldest lady of the Xianxia sect, is only 18 years old and in her prime. As the saying goes, there is no girl who does not have spring in her heart. If Wenxian sect has a disciple who can get the favor of Yu Yunlan, then it will be natural that the master is honored by the disciple. Wenxian sect and Xianxia sect will become relatives, and who in the Tianbai Empire dares not to give Wenxian sect 3 points of face? Sure enough, those disciples in the hall who think they are still somewhat handsome and elegant are all ready to fight. Not to mention that Yu Yunlan is a beauty of national beauty, just because she is the eldest daughter of Xianxia sect, even if she is extremely ugly, it doesn't matter. In my opinion, Miss Yu must have come here to look for our senior brother Yun. Yes, when we went to Qiyan Ridge with senior brother Yun to kill the sky-swallowing python a year ago, we met Miss Yu. At that time, senior brother Yun fought side by side with Miss Yu. This time, Miss Yu probably couldn't forget senior brother Yun, so she came to our Wenxian sect in person. Yes, senior brother Yun is one of the best talents in our Wenxian sect, and he is handsome and unrestrained. Miss Yu must have fallen in love with senior brother Yun. Several disciples who had followed Yunzheng to Qiyan Ridge remembered this and nodded one after another, looking at senior brother Yun with a flattering face, as if Yunzheng had really become the son-in-law of the Xianxia sect. I saw that senior brother Yun was dressed in white, with a face as beautiful as jade and eyes as bright as stars. He was indeed elegant and handsome. Yunzheng held a folding fan in his hand and played with it in a casual manner. He waved his hand and smiled slightly, saying, "My fellow junior brothers, you are joking. How can I be so capable as to make Miss Yu like me?" Although he was secretly happy when he heard these flattering words, he also had some self-knowledge. When he was dealing with the sky-swallowing python in Qiyan Ridge, it was Yu Yunlan who happened to pass by and saved his life. However, he still had some confidence in his appearance. Based on his appearance, how many female disciples in the immortal sect were fascinated by him? If Yu Yunlan really couldn't forget him, there might be some possibility. This is a great opportunity. If you can climb up to Yu Yunlan's high branch, you are destined to rise straight up and ride the wind for thousands of miles in the second half of your life. Thinking of this, Yunzheng's mouth curled up and he smiled slightly. But since my junior brothers think so highly of me, Yunzheng, I will personally go to receive Miss Yu. On the throne of the headmaster, Lin Feng's eyes flashed with a gleam of brilliance, and he personally walked down from the throne and patted Yunzheng on the shoulder. "Zhenger, is this true?" Yunzheng is Lin Feng's second true disciple. Although he is usually kind to his true disciples, he is definitely not so intimate. Yunzheng had a smug smile on his face, and he was secretly excited in his heart. If I marry Miss Yu, what does it matter if I am the headmaster? I still have to curry favor with me, ha ha ha. Yes, master, Miss Yu did meet me once, and I mentioned that I was a disciple of Wenxian sect. Yunzheng said with a smile. However, Miss Yu is of noble status, how could she look down on me? Most likely, she suddenly remembered a friend like me, so when she passed by, she came to Wenxian Sect to take a look. Even if you can become friends with Miss Yu, it is your blessing. Lin Sanlang smiled faintly. Zhenger, go and entertain Miss Yu well, and don't neglect her in the slightest. Yes, master. At this time, Ling Feng was walking on the mountain road back to Wenxian Sect, but suddenly found that outside the mountain gate, colorful flags were fluttering, lights were hung, and the entire sect, from top to bottom, looked festive. Ling Feng was secretly curious, is today a big day for Wenxian Sect? Or is there any big shot visiting Wenxian Sect? After thinking about it, Ling Feng shrugged slightly and didn't care, no matter what it is, it has nothing to do with me. Although he ostensibly became Lin Sanglang's undercover agent next to Duanwu Qingshan, he was still in the Chao camp and his heart was in the Han dynasty, and he didn't care about the affairs of the Xianzong. However, this time I went to the Great Wilderness Mountains to practice and gained a lot. In just 5 or 6 days, I directly broke through to the 7th stage of Qi condensation. Let's return to Shaozhu Peak quickly. Ling Feng got 2 treasures from Li Chongqing, a bag of crystal stones and a secret book of Xiaoyao's sword step. He didn't recognize the bag of crystal stones, so he hurriedly went back to ask Duanwu Qingshan. Duanwu Qingshan must be familiar with this object. As they were walking, 2 outer disciples of the Wenxian sect rushed out from the front. They drew their long swords and guarded the front, shouting angrily, "Who dares to break into the Wenxian sect without permission?" Only then did Ling Feng remember that he was now wearing animal skins and dressed like a hunter in the mountains. How could he still look like a disciple of the Xianxia sect? "I am inner disciple Ling Feng, get out of the way," Ling Feng said lightly. "Inner disciple? Huh, what a joke. Where are your disciple clothes? Where is your identity token?" A disciple on the left glared at Ling Feng and shouted, "Today we start asking about the important day of the immortal sect. I advise you to its best not to cause trouble, otherwise you'll be shot without mercy." Ling Feng frowned slightly. It was because the king of hell was easy to provoke and the kid was difficult to deal with. It was not so difficult to deal with the leader of Wenxian sect. Please collect, please vote. Chapter 40 Self-indulgent. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ling Feng frowned. Since he was sent to Duanwu Qingshan's lineage and was isolated from the inner sect, how could he have such a thing as an identity token? However, he does have one of the leader tokens. Ling Feng didn't bother to fight with them, so as not to cause unnecessary trouble. He directly took out the leader's jade order from his arms, showed it, and said coldly, "Then take a look, what is this?" Although these 2 outer disciples have never seen the leader's token, they also know what the word immortal in the middle of the token means. In the Wenxian sect, only the tokens symbolizing the elders and head can be engraved with the word immortal. Ordinary disciples will be engraved with the distinction between inner and outer doors, and they are all made of very cheap bronze and black iron. This token. The eyelids of a disciple on the right twitched. Are you Ling Feng? Ling Feng raised his eyebrows and put away the token. "Can I go in?" "Yes, it's okay." The disciple on the right swallowed, quickly pulled away the disciple on the left, and smiled at Ling Feng. "Senior, brother, please come in." Ling Feng ignored them, took a deep breath, unfolded his body skills, and continued to climb the stairs. The disciple on the left looked at Ling Feng's back and wondered, "Senior brothers, what's wrong with Ling Feng? Why didn't I know there was such a young elder in the inner sect?" "You idiot, that's the leader's token. Do you know who this Ling Feng is? A while ago, this guy couldn't help but make the elders of the pavilion bow their heads, and also killed the inner sect's senior brother Xiao Qingfeng with a sword. The strange thing is, the leader actually didn't pursue it. Think about it, are you and I worthy of offending such a person?" Gulu. The outer disciple swallowed, feeling a chill on his back, and his back was soaked with sweat. "Senior brothers, it's a good thing you helped me in time, otherwise I might have lost my life." Accounted for. Behind the Wenxian sect's mountain gate is a huge square. This is usually where the outer disciples practice martial arts. Today, there are surprisingly many inner disciples. Even the true disciples who usually don't see the beginning or end of Shenlong are suddenly there. Appeared here. What day is it today? So many senior brothers from the inner sect appeared all at once. Are you stupid in your cultivation? Haven't you heard yet? The eldest lady of the Xianxia sect is coming to us to ask the immortal sect. Of course, these inner sect brothers will rush up to greet her. What if miss you? If you leave a good impression, you will be successful. I'll wipe it, then let's. Don't even think about it. I heard that miss you came to see senior brother Yun Jingyun, the true disciple of the leader's lineage. How could such a good thing happen to us outer disciples? Hey, this is life. That the outer disciples talked a lot, and were driven to the edge corner by groups of inner disciples, and even drove them away directly, so as not to alarm Miss Yu. But this time, the person responsible for welcoming Miss Yu was not the leader, nor the master of any peak, but Yun Zheng, who had met Yu Yunlan once. This is also what the leader Lin Sanglong means. Only when old guys like them are not present can these young people perform better. If Yun Zheng can really win Yu Yunlan's favor, the entire Wenxian sect will ascend to heaven. After a while, I saw two graceful girls being welcomed in by Shoshan disciples. Almost all the male disciples present were shocked, not to mention Miss Yu. Even the little maid next to her has the appearance of a woman shy of the moonlight. Yun Zheng and his party immediately came forward to greet them and bowed to the two girls. I'm here, Yun Zheng, I've met Miss Yu. Wow! Xiao blinked her bright eyes and exclaimed, why are you making such a big fight? Do you want to besiege Our Lady? Don't dare. Yun Zheng waved his hand quickly. Miss Xiao, you are joking. Oh. You actually know me? Xiao was slightly startled. She didn't expect that the handsome man in front of her actually knew her. Yun Zheng was slightly startled and said quickly, when I killed the sky-swallowing python in Qiyan Ridge that day, I had the honor to meet the two young ladies. Red Flame Ridge? Xiao pursed her lips and thought for a moment. I don't remember, miss, do you remember? Yu Yunlan did not answer, but felt that he had a little impression, nodded lightly, and said no more. Yun Zheng narrowed his eyes slightly and secretly rejoiced in his heart. It turned out that Miss Yu really remembered him, so she was 100% here to find him. With your handsomeness and rich methods of picking up girls, even if you are a high-ranking rich lady, you will still be captured by this young master. When the time comes, thinking of this, Yun Zheng almost drooled, but his acting skills were very good, and he always maintained a graceful attitude on his face. He smiled slightly and said, I have heard for a long time that Miss Yu has the power to conquer the country and the city, and she has the appearance of a fish that sinks like a fish and a wild goose. I am lucky to have you today. Miss Yu is here, so my brothers and sisters want to come over and see what the fairy looks like. That I have to say that this Yun Zheng is really glib. He praised Yu Yunlan as a fairy with just one word. However, Yu Yunlan has seen countless sycophants since she was a child, and there are also many who are more eloquent and talented than Yun Zheng. She frowned slightly, feeling a little disgusted with this Yun Zheng. He must have thought that he had a chance encounter with him, so he came to Wenxian Zong specifically to see him. Self-indulgent. Xiao is so smart that she naturally noticed this relationship. She was secretly amused in her heart. She glared with bright eyes and scolded, now that people have seen it, you should leave as well. Our young lady is not here to come here. Yours. Yun Zheng's expression changed slightly, and his face was full of embarrassment. Didn't Yu Yunlan come to find him? Then who else could she come to? Ask the Xianzong if there are any other young talents worthy of Yu Yunlan's eyes. Many disciples around him secretly laughed in their hearts. Yun Zheng was really embarrassed this time. What is this called? Toad wants to eat. Those outer sect disciples feel even more secretly happy, letting you inner sect disciples act arrogantly and show off your power all day long. Now in front of the eldest lady of the Xianxia sect, aren't all of them like dogs? Then what's the matter with Miss Yu's second visit? Yun Zheng suppressed the embarrassment on his face and said with a smile. Yu Yunlan opened her red lips lightly and was about to speak out her intention. At this moment, she suddenly saw a familiar figure walking from the mountain gate. Surprisingly, it is Ling Feng. Ling Feng was wrapped in a furry animal skin, but he was wearing a pair of trousers. The whole appearance seemed a bit nondescript. In Yu Yunlan's eyes, she couldn't help but secretly laugh. Why is he dressed like this? She obviously didn't expect that she would meet Ling Feng here. Her eyes could not help but curve into a pair of crescent moons, and a smile appeared on her pretty face. This smile is like the spring breeze blowing on the face, intoxicating the heart and mind. However, when this scene fell into Yun Zheng's eyes, he was filled with anger, and his mind was filled with one thought. Who is that turtle grandson? It's not easy to write a new book, so I'm asking for recommendations.